Okay, so Shedeur Shedeur Sanders, he fell to fifth round pick. He's with the Cleveland Browns. How you feel about that?
Um, I had a conversation with a football enthusiast
Mm-hmm.
a couple days ago, and um, I'll say the same thing that I said to him. I believe that the NFL is um, the NFL is looking for.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're saying. The NFL, they all work together.
I think the
They
NFL.
send them. They sent a message.
I think the NFL is a sham. I think
It's a
NFL is
good old
not
boys
about
league.
putting football players on the field. It's about a it's a scripted play that they want to put out there. A
Well,
product that they feel like they need to put out there. And I think Shador coming in, coming from a Hall of Fame NFL player in Deion Sanders, a strong black man that believed in his self worth, betted on himself, and succeeded. He's everything that he's done has been successful. Now his sons are coming into the spotlight, and they were successful. And going into the NFL, bringing that um, charisma, bringing that I am my brand. I am gonna. I felt like the NFL was they did not want the first. They don't want quarterback. They have a stigma. They don't want this branding. This they want you to focus on football kind of shit. Just football. They don't
oh
want that.
yeah, I
You know,
mean,
they don't want
it's
the
just like the video I showed you with Charleston White, and I'll piggyback on that. Is
yeah.
that Shedeur Sanders? He's a privileged, entitled, arrogant player. Okay, he never really had to work or compete for anything in his life because his dad was always the head coach from Pop Warner, middle school, high school, college. You know what I mean? So now, for the first time in his life, he's going to have to prove he's going to have to compete. So that's what they're looking for. Because as a second round pick, he was probably going to get like maybe first, second, third. He was probably going to make about between 10 to 30 million, maybe. So now that he's a fifth round pick, he's really going to have to compete for the job. And I think that's what they're looking for. They trying to see what he's made of.
And that comment right there, I totally disagree with. Like Charles White, like he sometimes he hits, sometimes he doesn't. And I feel like in like let's be honest, would you say the same thing as Steph Curry? Like would you say the same thing about Patrick Mahomes?
It's different.
Say the same thing about Clay Thompson? Would you say the same thing about some of these people that their
They're
fathers were successful for longevity, right?
Yeah, but they're
They,
kids. Steph, he's not arrogant. He's not. You know what I mean? It's
okay.
different. You know what I mean? And with
Okay,
Shador,
so my thing is like this. Okay, so Steph is not arrogant. Mahomes is not arrogant. What makes Shador arrogant?
and you know
I'm just
they
saying,
light
like,
skin, and
what
they're
makes
light skin.
Shador? What makes the Shador arrogant? I mean, he's won everywhere he went. I mean, he went. He took a team Colorado where none of us like
No,
thought
look,
Colorado would be anything.
look, is nothing wrong with being arrogant or anything like that. But for the simple fact is that his talent level, he's an above average quarterback. All right. Now, if he had the talent like let's say Lamar Jackson, right? He would have went first, second round if he had that type of talent, but he don't. He's just an above average quarterback. So, and then this draft, they didn't really need quarterbacks as all the quarterback positions were pretty much filled. So they're like,
Pittsburgh needed a quarterback. New Orleans needed a quarterback. Browns needed a quarterback. Um, I believe who else needed a quarterback? Um, shit. Shit, man. I think the Rams needed a quarterback.
Yeah,
Matt
they could.
Stafford,
Yeah, that's
Matt
I was
Stafford.
surprised too. I thought he
Yeah,
would have
man.
been
Like
able
there I could
to
go
go to the
through teams
Rams, but
that
like I
needed
said, the
needed a
NFL.
quarterback. And they could have I mean, I just look at the first round pick quarterback, Pittsburgh, Browns, and New Orleans needed a quarterback.
Hmm.
Those are three teams that they needed a quarterback.
And
Out of
now
the
the Browns got him for cheap.
I just feel like it was more of a blackball thing.
Oh
I felt
yeah,
like it was a message that, to be honest with you, I think they missed with this message because now kids get paid. Kids are going to get paid. These top quarterbacks are going to get paid. You're gonna see 5-star quarterbacks making $2-3 million. So they're already going to have money coming in.
hmm
So you're not going to talk to them as if they're poor or they're shit or they're nothing. Like before this NIL shit, people will shut the fuck up because they're trying to get this money.
yeah. But that $2 million, man, that can go out the window real quick, especially if you don't know what to do with it.
I,
Especially when you don't
I
got the right team around you. So that
maybe
2 million,
maybe
but that's what I'm
it's two
saying with
million you didn't
Shedeur.
have.
But
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like with Shedeur, he came from money. You know what I
dude,
mean? So
but
they're from them, they're not going to give them 30 million up front when you're already arrogant. When you
I don't
already,
understand. I don't understand the
that's what I'm
arrogance.
saying.
Like, well, here's the thing: people that don't think that Shador worked hard I feel like that's ridiculous. Like, you have Deion Sanders as your father. You don't think that boy worked hard?
He never had to compete for a job.
Maybe
He
because he was that good.
he worked hard, but he never had to compete for a job.
Maybe he was that good.
And that's cool. But now in the NFL, they saying, hey, you're gonna have to compete. You're gonna have to show us.
So okay, here's the thing, and I hope it fucking backfires. I always bet against the NFL. I hope
Hmm.
it backfires. I really do. I hope everything that everybody did dirty, man. That's why I hope Denver never wins another championship. I hope they fire, you know, the coach and Peyton, what he did to Russell Wilson. There are some racist ass motherfuckers out there. There are some people out there that just shouldn't be coaching, shouldn't have a job. You know what I mean? Like I believe in certain I when they do things like San Francisco, I feel like San Francisco should never win a Super Bowl for what they did to Kendrick. I mean to what's the boy's name?
Kaepernick.
Kaepernick. Like
And
I
Kaepernick
bet
sucked.
I bet against him. No, I don't think he sucked. I think if anything, Kaepernick would have been. He went to the Super Bowl, bro. He went to two NFC championships and a Super Bowl, and he
He
broke.
did, but I think his skills went down.
How when you get hurt, when you don't pay the offensive line and put people around him because the same thing as Cam Newton.
He wasn't
How do you build a
exactly.
how do you build a perfect team around him? Not perfect, but build an offensive team. Like, hey, we got to protect him. We got to put weapons around him, and he takes you to the Super Bowl, and you don't do it the second you get rid of all your offensive linemen because he can run.
His
Same thing.
his
They
skills decreased. He
because
wasn't that same player.
that doesn't make sense to me though. How could you do the reason why I was successful is because I had an offensive line. When you take that offensive line, guess what? I'm running for my life. I can't make the decisions that I used to make decisions the previous year
Yep,
because I'm running for my life.
I
Has
get it.
nothing to do with talent. Kaepernick, same thing. He got hurt. You know what I mean? And they, for some reason, they just gave up on him. And then when he did the knee thing, they like really gave up on him. And I'm like, what the
That was
hell?
it. Because
And
the
I
talent. If he
and I
had the talent, they would
and
have
I
rivaled him.
and then
But
look at
he
him
didn't
now.
have the talent.
Look at them now. They're never going to win. The Shanahan little system shit they were preying on and everything. Oh, we're going to win. We're going to do this. I hope they never fucking win a Super Bowl. From here on out, I hope that whole damn organization never sees the light of day again. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I hope
yeah,
the Brock Purdy experiment fucking failed.
yeah.
I'm
I
sorry.
thought
It's a
I thought
failure.
that whole black civil rights thing with Cam Newton. I always thought that was a front. I just thought he didn't want to play football, and that was his way out. That's just my opinion.
I don't know. Marshawn Lynch did it. There was other players that did it. It just wasn't noticed until Kaepernick, and then you have to be that big enough to notice. And Kaepernick was that big at the time to notice. So you can't say he sucked. and then it just feels like, like I said, Harbaugh left, all that bullshit and everything like that, and I don't like how the NFL is. Like after seeing this, like I bet against the Shield all the time. I
Mm-hmm.
bet. I want them to completely fail for whatever message they're trying to send of control. Because look at the coaching. Yeah, all the coaches are connected. Everything's connected. There's no imagination anymore. There's just a system that they just don't want to break. And
And it's not going to.
and you're right. And my thing is, my thing is, I really hope. I love the game of football, but eventually, I think it's all going to collapse on itself, man.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like
I want
I
that.
think
I want it to collapse on itself.
I think the mistake that the Sanders made was that they overplayed their hand. They went in arrogant, cocky, saying that, hey, my team, my boy, there's certain organizations he ain't gonna play for, and that bit him. That bit him in the ass.
So what's the difference between Eli Manning,
Eli Manning's better, and he's
bro? Eli Manning. The only reason why he's probably getting any type of look is because he beat Tom Brady twice.
no. I'm talking about like as a draft prospect going into the league. That's what I'm comparing him as a draft prospect going into the league because he was the number one pick.
No, wait, was he?
Yes, he was the number one pick. Eli. He got drafted by.
He got traded to New York though
He got
because
traded because he did not want to go to
want to
San
play for
Diego.
San Diego. But ain't that arrogant? Ain't
But
that like
the
I don't want to
difference,
play for you?
yeah, the difference is he had the talent and he had
So you're telling me if you have the talent, you can do what the fuck you want to do. But if you don't have the talent, then you got to shut the fuck up.
pretty much, yeah.
But Shedeur was the best quarterback in that draft.
No, he wasn't.
I don't think he was. I don't think Cam Ward was that much better than him.
He was.
The only reason why Cam Ward got drafted first, I believe, is just because of his journey. He went from Incarnate Ward to Washington State to Miami.
And that says a lot.
That's why he got drafted.
That
But
says a lot,
but if he didn't do that and stayed at Washington State, he wouldn't be a number one draft pick.
but that says a lot. The journey,
I'm just
the
saying, like,
perseverance.
and if it wasn't for the transfer portal, he wouldn't have never. So, like I said, Cam Ward went through the Mustang thing. He's a rarity. There was one person that did it, was Russell Wilson. I mean, there's several people that did, but Russell Wilson was one that was really successful. That went to NC State and to Wisconsin, and would do his thing. I don't count Will Howard because Will Howard went to Kansas State. He wasn't really that good. The boy can move a little bit. You know, he wasn't something that popped out a thing. And then when he transferred to Ohio State, the only thing that Ohio State was like, just don't turn the ball over.
No,
Because
I mean, we've seen it throughout. We've seen it throughout time. Is like when you got the talent, like they're going to pick you.
I don't think
For instance, like Warren Sapp, right? Like he had a lot of baggage coming into the league, but he went top 5 because he was that great. When you're that great, you know, they'll forget all the other BS when you're
But
that
what
great.
BS says, but here's the thing. Shedeur doesn't have any BS. The kid went to Colorado. They were 1-11. 1-11 before he came. Then went 4-8 first season because they had to get rid of everybody.
They
And
also
then turned
they
it
also
down.
had Travis Hunter.
Well, that wasn't, yeah. So Travis Hunter was on that team too when they first got there. 4-8.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
why.
they had to transform it. And then the third year or the second year, they went 9-4. They just missed the playoffs. They missed winning the conference championship by I think one game. But if they had stayed one more year, man, we would see Colorado in the playoffs. We would see them win the Big 12 championship. So like that's what I'm saying. And then like yes, Hunter was a great, you know, he was a great Robin, or you know what I mean. He was a great 1-2. They were great together, and they made a sorry ass program now come relevant. And I don't think if you put Will Howard, uh, what's the boy from Notre Dame's quarterback there? I don't think you put any other quarterback that transferred to different teams to Colorado, and they would have been successful.
Um,
I don't even think Cam Ward would have went to Colorado and made that team successful. They had
I don't know
no
about that.
offensive line whatsoever. They had no offensive line whatsoever. Who name one offensive? I mean, other than Jimmy Horn's son, But other than that, like nobody really knows anything about Colorado except for Hunter and Shedeur.
Well, we're gonna find out what the boy's made of. We're gonna see.
Oh, we won't find out for a couple years. And then my thing is, and my buddy said, which I take into consideration. Here's next year, Cleveland has put themselves in a position to where next year they would get a top first round pick, and they could possibly go quarterback depending on what's going on. So what's
Yeah,
going to happen is that Flacco is 40 years old. I think he's
and they
depending.
and they might trade Shedeur for more draft picks. But
Nah,
the
they know
thing,
they're only taking a fifth rounder. Well, the bigger picture is Flacco's 40. He's got either this year or next year, right? They're going to get rid of him.
yeah,
Pickett, they got Watson. Right now, he's in injury. They're
hmm
trying to move Watson. They're thinking about just cutting him.
yeah.
Like, hey, can we just release him or cut him and then pay him or whatever over time or whatever case may be? They just don't want Watson there,
I think
right?
he's done. I
Yeah.
think Watson's done.
Yeah. So they're trying to move him. Flacco's going to be there. He's better than Pickett. And then they got two rookie quarterbacks. So after this year one, depending on how they do, which if they suck or it doesn't even matter if they suck, they just have the draft picks. So now they'll evaluate what they have to do after this year. If they end up making the playoffs, then not too much stuff will change, especially with the GM and the coaching staff. It'll stay the same. But if they end up not making the playoffs and have a terrible season, then they'll get rid of the GM, the coaching staff, and then they'll scrap everything. But you can't scrap too much because Joe Flacco will be on his way out. Watson, you don't want to keep. Pickett is Pickett. You don't want Pickett as a quarterback. He's just like a safety net, just in case Flacco gets hurt, and then he can back him up. And then you got the two rookies, right?
Yeah.
That boy Gabriel is like 5'10", bro,
Mm-hmm.
and he don't even run a 4.3. He's not. He doesn't have. The only way you should draft a 5'10" guy is if he runs like Murray.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
I look. That's it. Like Mayfield got lucky, but Mayfield's I think he's 6 foot.
Yeah, barely 6 foot, but
Barely
he's 6 foot.
right? But Mayfield got Mayfield wasn't successful in Cleveland. Then he got lucky because people because he arrogant as fuck too. Mayfield arrogant as shit, and he
Yeah,
got a job. Like I don't understand. Like when everybody says arrogant, like arrogant.
like I said, it's different when you're black. It's different when you're black. When you're
I just
black
feel
and you
like
arrogant,
I feel like
you gotta have that Cam Newton, that Michael Vick type of talent. If you ain't got that type of talent, then they gonna put you in your place.
and it just gets me to a point where I think the Wonderlink test, the S2 test, I think it's just I think it really is um I think it's discrimination.
Yeah.
I think those two tests and somebody can take word. I think somebody should sue the NFL for discrimination with the Wonderlink and the S2 test.
At the end of the day, the NFL is the
Like
NFL. It's
I
their
want
league, and they're gonna run it their
I
way.
don't know, man. I'm a type of I'm an underdog guy, man. I want something to break down the NFL. Like I hate the NFL now.
Nothing's gonna break the NFL. You ain't gonna break the
Like I
system.
used to I love football. Don't get me wrong. I love the game of football, but I hate the NFL. I hate it as a company, as an organization. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. If there was another league out there that would just put football players on the field, I would watch it, man. I'm about to start watching UCFL and XFL. I'm shit you not. Like, at least those guys are just hungry to play football in the game.
Shoot, they ain't getting paid that much.
Hey, that's okay, but they out there trying to make it
Yeah.
to NFL. But
You know what? That's not bad because some of them that they make about 75,000 for a couple games. So for
it's
what?
bad, bro.
Couple months? Yeah. What?
Yeah,
3 months? 75,000?
$5,000 in a year. That's more than anybody. I don't know about taxes and stuff like that, but that's a year
Yeah.
job. You only got to work what 5 months out of the month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
You have another side business? Yeah.
that's it, and then you
Yeah.
play every other. Like that's not too bad. And I mean, these multi-million-dollar contracts and stuff, and this whole script thing, and I don't know. I look at it like, and then the only reason why they got big ratings is because of what they did to Shedeur. Our ratings are falling. Like people are starting to get away. Like this new generation, these new things. Like it's not like us anymore. We didn't have social media. We didn't have these things when we were growing up, right? So when things like NFL, basketball, some of these things, we focused on them because it. It was nothing else in the outside world unless you just where they had money and you can travel and everything. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you're a kid from San Bernardino, California. Guess what you're watching on a Friday or a Saturday? You're
Oh,
watching the
bruh.
Lakers game, you're watching the football game, you're watching something that's on the
It's
TV.
it's different now because we're working more so than ever now. So
Exactly.
you don't
Freaking
really have
more.
time to really watch these
And then
games.
social media.
Yeah.
People will scroll on that TV, and then you have things like fantasy football, right? And then you have things like NFL Zone. You don't have to watch the whole game. You can just have little highlights and stuff like that. So they're losing all these viewships and stuff. That's why they keep putting up gimmicks like the